We have with us another expert session for you all. And for that, may I invite upon stage Mr. Vivek Bhargava, co founder of Profit Wheel, who will speak on the topic of introduction to AI in marketing, test, learn, and iterate. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Bhargava?
So good afternoon, friends. Looks like am I between you and lunch? So I'll try to make it as brief as possible, and let's make it a little interactive. Would love to answer any questions you have on some of the things even Subhanshu discussed. I think I had a lot of comments on some of the things he was mentioning. But I think the world of AI is becoming extremely exciting. So like I don't know how many of you saw the demo of Gemini which Google launched yesterday. That video was just crazy because you could point your phone into any direction and the phone is going to tell you answers for the real world. So I think the way I have structured this presentation is that I'm going to focus on just setting a little bit of a context of what AI in marketing is all about. Uh, okay, which direction should I point this? Hmm? Okay, okay. So, okay, I think go back a bit. No, I need to go back a bit. Just the first point. Okay, I think just setting the context, I think what Subhranshu talked about was just to add to it, right? I think the biggest challenge humanity faces is that we understand linear behavior very well, right? You walk 10 steps, you'll go, let's say, 5 meters. You take 20 steps, you'll go 10 meters. But when you take about exponential technologies, predicting the growth becomes extremely difficult for us as human beings to understand. So they always give us the example of folding papers, right? So they say if you fold a paper a certain number of times, what will be the thickness of the paper? So the funny part is, I guess that okay, if it's folded 42 times, how big the thickness would be? We think it will probably reach the roof or something, right? But it's not. It reaches the moon, 384,000 kilometers. Only thing is, you just fold it a little bit more, 50 times, reaches 113 kilometers. You fold it a little bit more, 103 times, it reaches the end of the universe, 93 billion light years. Let me just say, one light year itself is the speed at which the light travels. 93 billion light years is the thickness of the paper if you just fold it 103 times. So the challenge with AI is that it's growing exponentially across various industries, right? So what's going to happen is it's going to end up disrupting industries you never thought was possible. So next point. Uh, okay. So, I've attended the Singularity University a few years ago. I think it's probably already irrelevant because things have evolved so much after that. But they give examples of industries getting disrupted which you never think have any link with each other. So let's say driverless cars become a common practice. Humans are banned from driving, which should be the case with the number of accidents that happen all over the world, and only you can drive a car in a racetrack. On a normal day-to-day basis, only it's driverless cars. Now, just imagine what it will do to the industries. First thing is, it may disrupt real estate industry. Why do we live close to our homes? Because commute is bad. But now if it's a driverless car, you could be watching a movie with 360-degree view, listen to music, sleep, work, do whatever you could do in the office in the car. So probably then you won't mind living a little bit further away from home. So imagine what will happen to downtown real estate in every single city in the world. Second thing is almost one third of every city is just focused on actually parking. Driverless cars don't require parking. So imagine at one end the demand reduces, at the other end, in a way, the supply increases. What happens with the basic economics, right? Basically, the prices will go down dramatically. But this is not only in two industries that getting impacted by driverless cars, which they never thought is connected, right? There is a port being built in Germany, and the port was going to get over in 2030. What they realized was that two technologies that are exponentially increasing. One is the drone technology, and the other is the battery technology. So what would happen is every 9 months, the drones can carry now double the weight that they could carry previously. So it can carry 1 ton today. In 9 months, it will become 2 tons. In 18 months, it will become 4 tons. In 36 months, again, on 9 months after that, 27 months, it will become 8 tons. So by the time 2030 arrives, if the largest, most heaviest container is 100 tons, the drones can carry much more than that. And the battery technology is increasing. So earlier the drones could last 20 minutes with that weight. Now they can last 40 minutes, 80 minutes, 160 minutes, etc. So just imagine the drones could pick up the container directly from the ship when it's near the shore and load it up directly in the order and sequence you want into the trucks. So that all the ports in the world become probably irrelevant, right? Don't go and sell Adani ports yet. But the fact of the matter is, just imagine, right? Two unrelated technologies like drones and batteries are going to impact one industry, right? And the fact of the matter is that it's very difficult for us to imagine. First, not possible to imagine the exponential growth that some of these technologies are having. Secondly, what industries they're going to disrupt, because we don't know what industries they're going to disrupt. Because earlier, when you made a steam engine, it only affected transportation. That's about it. Now, what's happening is driverless cars could affect real estate and drones could affect ports. So these linkages are impossible for us to imagine, and that's what it makes it extremely exciting, but also makes it extremely threatening to the way we live our lives today. Okay. So the thing is that a lot of times people say, oh, you know what, AI versus human. Humans have this very amazing ability, right? When we compete with any technology in the early phases, we try to compete. But when the technology becomes far superior to us, in a way, you know what, we start using it. So we don't have a weightlifting competition today with a forklift, or we don't have a marathon race against a car, because those technologies are superior to us. We accepted it. So now we sit in the car and drive around and use a forklift to do the heavy lifting job that need to be done. I think AI is similarly reached this phase where in certain things is just going to be so much superior to us that we have to use it to improve what we do. So the best chess players in the world is not actually AI, nor is it human beings. They call it a term called centaurs, where the group of human beings come together with a group of AI and collectively they play chess, and collectively they can beat both the humans and the AI individually. So the way to use AI is not the AI that is going to disrupt what you do. It is the human who learns how to use the AI effectively. That's the person who's going to affect you. So the fact of the matter is, like how we use a car, we should use AI. So one quick show of hands, how many people out here have used the paid version of ChatGPT? $20 one. Okay. So one of the things, if one takeaway I would recommend is, right, all these technologies have been played around with. Something which is 50x, 100x better than the previous version, right? Please pay $20. So I'll share a very interesting story. I was having a drink with a friend of mine. He's a dollar billionaire, and he was having a nice 25-year-old malt in a five-star hotel. So that cost probably 20,000 rupees a peg. And then what happened was I told him, "ये app है, ये download करो." So then he said, "इसका free version नहीं है क्या?" I said, like, it's 499 rupees for the app for the whole year, but he wanted a free version. So I think the thing is that we come from this scarcity mindset, and it's so difficult for us to pay for things which are not tangible and real, which is technology and software and SaaS fees, etc. I think we have to get into this mindset of investing so that we can see these technologies transform our lives, right? So one takeaway, please, at least for 1 month, invest $20 in yourself and pay for Stable Diffusion, pay for all these technologies to play around with it. The paid versions are far superior than the unpaid versions. I think you will see the power of it, right? Like, you know, we won this launchpad competition of NBA. So I said, okay, there must be similar launchpad competitions of large companies who may want to work with us. So what I did was I asked AI, which are such companies. Then I said, okay, this is my presentation. I uploaded my PowerPoint because the paid version allows you to upload stuff in it. Can you create individual sort of applications for all these companies that I want to apply to? All this would have been done otherwise with weeks of my interns and my sales team working on it. So it's done in half an hour. So the fact of the matter is just the ability to upload stuff, right, and query it. I was pitching to a company. I was able to upload the financial documents of that company and say, if I had to pitch to this company, how should I pitch and what do you think the advertising budget was? So they said that the beauty industry spends between 15 to 25% of revenues on advertising, and is able to then give me a data and the number, even though it was not specified in the financial documents, and summarize it for me. So the kind of things you can do with AI, the more and more you play around with it, the more and more you learn from it. So there is this term that I learned when I was trying to be an AI trainer. It's called FAFO, FAFO. So pardon my French, but it says F around and find out. The more and more you F around with things, you'll find out random things, and those things can be completely transformative to the way you do work. Because I think we are going to go through this challenge, right? So let me come to that challenge and I'll give you my view of it. The next slide, the next point. So if you take, right, Tom and Jerry cartoons we've all seen in our childhood, most of us, right? Today, if you go back 30, 40 years when this was being made, almost 500 plus people were required to make it. Because if you had 1 second, it required 30 frames, somebody was physically drawing 30 frames. Today, with software and AI, you can probably do it with 2 people. But the fact of the matter is, we don't make Tom and Jerry anymore. We make Shrek. Shrek still requires probably 500 people. So the thing is that if you continue doing what you're doing today, then you will get disrupted. But if you use AI to do more than what you have done in the past, you make a Shrek rather than a Tom and Jerry, then you will still remain relevant. So it's very, very critical that we start using AI very much on a day-to-day basis, but also have a goal to do 10x, 100x, 1000x of what we used to do in the past. If we continue doing what we are doing in the past, then we'll become Tom and Jerry's of today. Right? Okay, first point. So I think the advertising and marketing industry is one thing where the impact is almost immediate and is almost direct, right? So you don't have to guess drones and ports. Here is very, very direct. So what's going to happen is the advertising industry is made up of, or almost all industries are made up for, let's say 3 levels of organization, right? There is this C-suite, L1s, and there is the people who report on them, and then there is hundreds of people who do the basic work, right? In most advertising agencies in advertising, without trying to sound condescending, they call the minions. The minions are the ones who do the growth optimization, they do the creative, they do a lot of things at the bottom end of the organization, and they are the ones who are in numbers. So if I had sold my company to Dentsu, we were 60,000 people, probably 40,000 of them would be people who will be doing the actual work on a day-to-day basis. What's happening with AI is that L1s may remain almost the same, L2s may reduce by 10%, 20%, but the L3s could actually reduce by 90%. Because the earlier example I gave you of applying to 30 companies, which was done in half an hour, I would have required multiple L1s or L3s working for months before this would be accomplished. So now you have to realize that how are you going to utilize that talent to do more? If we don't get a structure in place and AI becomes the core of the structure in advertising agencies and marketing, we're going to face a lot of challenges because you'll have now competition who with 1/3, 1/5, 1/10 number of people will accomplish as much as what you can today or probably more. So we have to multiply what we do, and for that, I think it's going to impact every single part of advertising. Yeah, the next link. So I think the way to use AI is it is a catalyst across everything we do. So it can help creative, it can help content creation. I'll give you examples of it in the next slide. So it's going to help every single thing that we do. And it's very important to realize that almost everything we do, there are some insights you're going to get from AI. And if we stop, if we don't start using it now, we will miss out on some amazing things that AI can do today. So don't limit it to that, okay, it can only do creative or it can only do media. Can it do strategy? It can do strategy. Like I asked AI a question the other day that I want to create a strategy document like how a Jim Collins will create it in this manner. So now it took actually Good to Great, Built to Last, all these kind of books, and it took all the points from that and it wrote a strategy document how a Jim Collins would write it, including his flywheel and everything was built into the model, right? So the prompting part of it. So one other takeaway that I have for everybody is there anybody in this room who writes more than a 200-word prompt? Right? Most of my prompts now are 200 words. So, Subhanshu had mentioned that what is the copyright, right? Because the image is being created. So tell me one thing, when you take a photograph with a camera, what's the copyright? Right? The camera is the Canon 5D. That's the one who's taking the photograph. Why should you get a copyright? The copyright comes from the lens. what lens you took the photograph, what lighting you selected, how you composed the composition of the image, and who was there in the image. All these things put together gives you a copyright of the photograph, right? So if you're a photographer, that is the copyright. So the thing is, you may use the same cooking range to make a culinary dish, but your copyright is the recipe you used. So in a way, your prompt today is your recipe. If I write a 200 word prompt and somebody else writes a 200 word prompt, even if a single word is changed in that, the answer is going to be very, very different. So your ability to input hundreds and thousands of words into your prompt is going to be very critical, because when you're instructing L3s, the interns, you don't say do this, right? You give them a detailed brief of what needs to be done, right? And then they come back with clarifying questions, you answer all those questions, and it's a process by which you take an intern and make him do amazing stuff. The same way you can use AI to do amazing stuff if your prompts are 200 words plus. If you don't give a 200 word prompt, you don't say that write it like Jim Collins. Who knows, it may write like a 12-year-old strategy document, which is not what you can use. So this is one takeaway. Second takeaway, first is pay for ChatGPT and multiple tools. I'm not an investor in OpenAI, so I can safely tell you to invest monies in it. And secondly, start using larger prompts. It is a tough thing to do to write a 200 word prompt, but once you learn it and you see the results, you'll start writing all your prompts will be 200 words plus. Okay, next point. I think it's going to enable mass personalization at all levels. So I think the biggest benefit of AI is that today, if you are targeting, I was with a panel yesterday with somebody and they have 85 million customers, you could almost divide those 85 million customers of 10,000 each and make tens of thousands of cohorts. And now you can write creative for each cohort. The surprising part is that every single cohort, based on what the affluence is, which city they live in, what language do they speak, even the words can change. So I'll give you an example. We work with an e-commerce site that does gifting. People in Bombay search for, gift to wife. In Bangalore, they search for anniversary gift. So now what happens is if you're writing AdWords copy or you're writing creative, mentioning the word anniversary in probably Bombay is not the best idea, but mentioning it in Bangalore is a great idea. So the thing is that even a small text ad of 25, 30, 50 characters can actually change because of the words you used. And the AI is able to take data from a search in each city and use the words that have to be used to write the creative. Now, this can be done at scale for millions and millions of audiences, right? Because just imagine if you just put 85 million people, right? You could actually have, divide by 10, 8 million audiences. So you put 10 people or 1,000 people, you can have 1 million audiences and individual creative for all million of them. Because the impact of that, the best thing about digital advertising, like they mentioned $500 billion, is that if you get your creative precise and your CTR higher, your media cost goes down dramatically, right? Just imagine, right? Because if you're using the right precise words, your media cost will go down so much. Okay, next point. So I think it's also to learn and in a way fundamentally forget a lot of things that we were used to in the past, right? So we had this awareness, interest, desire, action, etc. Now all this happens simultaneously. Because what happens is the consumer can be made aware of a certain thing during a period of time, create the desire and the action, and a lot of times that can happen simultaneously. So the way you run this for each audience, the person who's searching for, let's say, Ferrari safety. Now that could be a spouse of a person who wants to gift a Ferrari, theoretically speaking, or let the husband buy the Ferrari. Now you can't say 0 to 100 in 2.9 seconds because that will scare the spouse even more. So you want to talk about the Ferrari safety features. So if you just bid on a keyword called Ferrari and say buy a car and there's the speed, that's what you buy it for, but the person has added a word safety out there, then the individual creative has to take that intent to account and talk about the safety features of the car rather than the speed of the car. Now imagine doing this for billions of keywords, right? Because today, Google is the closest man has come to creating a mind reading machine. Whatever you type in Google, that's what people are thinking right now, and billions of minds are being read. If you can read somebody's mind, can you utilize that to persuade them to create the LiDAR cycle for them? And this is going to change everything, right? Today, if you take a lot of us have a lot of spends on Google AdWords. but that is based on persons searching for something and getting results. Today, my usage of Google has reduced dramatically because I'm getting answers directly from Bing or from ChatGPT, and now they started using the web to give you the answers. So if I need an answer, I don't need thousand results. I just need an answer. And if the answers are given to me, then what happens to if 50% of my acquisitions are happening through Google AdWords today? We may have to think of new things to that. But obviously, Google has to think about it more, and I'm sure they'll have solutions for it. But a lot of industries will get disrupted immediately because a lot of a source of customer acquisition is happening through the platforms we've used in the past, and those platforms are going to change dramatically. Right? Next. So let me share with you a few examples of how it is going to be used in advertising, and it's very interesting. And I can show you some browser runs of how can be really made. That. So I think first area is media planning. So media planning is very simple, right? What happens is that currently our media plans are built on these audiences that are limited by television. So if you had SECC, A and B, this age group, male, female, this genre, etc., it was built that you can have a media plan which will have 100 variables because those 100 variables can be tracked and 100 variables can be targeted. But now what happens if you just take Meta itself, Meta has 1.2 million interests that they tracks. So every single interest of those can be tracked individually. And a combination of interest, when you take a million plus interest, you combine them with 100, 50, 60 for different audiences, then you're talking about billions and billions of possible audiences that you can target. So each audience is different. One person and the other person, same age, same city, same affluence, everything. One person could like cats and one person would like dogs. And that one word will change everything. Because after that, that individual is a different individual. Right? Even their travel habits will be different. You can leave a cat at home for a few days and she'll be fine. And a dog will have to put in a creche. So Priyanka is here. I think she'll identify that model because her husband runs the creche. So the fact of the matter is that one single change changes the personality of the person. And you cohort them into 10,000 audiences, people each, then you have to customize that at mass personalization. Next slide. Creative strategy, right? So we work with our companies. What we do is that we first of all create a psychographic of that 10,000 people audience. So we 85 million customers, we will take each 10,000 of them and create a psychographic. The psychographic would have hundreds and thousands of words in it, right? Cats, dogs, but dogs, golden retrievers, or Saint Bernards, or Shih Tzus, and all these psychographics then go into AI as prompts to write the creative. And sometimes the insights that come up are so uncanny that it's very difficult for us to understand. See, AI doesn't understand what it's creating because it's just trying to guess the next word. But what it's doing is taking the psychographics of a person. So let me give you an example. We work with Crocs in India, and Metro Shoes sells Crocs in India. It came up that people who like Crocs, who buy Crocs in India, have a lot of affinity for sports. So the creative insight that came up was Crocs for your after sport relaxation, a companion for your sports shoe, an accessory for your sports bag. Now I'm a passionate ping pong player. I own a table tennis team called Goa Challengers in UTT. The thing is that I started carrying a pair of Crocs in my bag because I realized that once I'm done playing sport, I want to sit with some friends and have a glass of beer. That point of time, I don't want to wear my sports shoes. Like, I want to make sure that I'm off my sporting gear, I'm wearing my track pants and wearing Crocs. So the thing is, I could almost visualize myself that a pair of Crocs in my sports bag would be a great idea. But this is something which a advertising legend, a professional would think of this insight and then convert it into creative. Here the AI is writing this creative. And just imagine it's writing this creative for every single audience you have. So if you have 10,000 audiences of cohorts each, it's writing creative for each one of them individually. Now this is what AI is going to do and is doing today, right? Next point. So my daughter has about 600,000 followers on Instagram, and it's embarrassing, but as a 20-year-old, she probably makes more money than what I did when I was in my 40s. So it's embarrassing at times that I thought I had a successful career, but not so much. And the fact of the matter is that today, when you're choosing an influencer, we choose them based on the number of followers they have or what genre they are in. But the fact of the matter is that the audience could be analyzed, and you can get the psychographic of the audience, and you can take the psychographic of your best customers and find the overlap between the influencer's audience and your best customers, and choose an influencer based on the overlap between them rather than choosing them number of followers and audiences what they look like. So now the key is that how much first party data you have and how can you utilize this first party data to actually get this benefit. Yeah, next point. So again, all this leads to content creation, but again, all this is going to happen on the fly. I used to work in SEO extensively and we used to create content, but now just imagine you could have hundreds of pages of content created individually for the audience you're targeting. Because just imagine, right? Every product, the perception we have of the product is very dependent on who we are. So let's take an example. 20 years ago, for me, a Toyota Corolla used to be an aspirational car. Like I would want to buy a Toyota Corolla. Today, Toyota Corolla is a value for money car for me. Right? It's not an aspirational car anymore, but it's a value for money car. I still am fond of Toyota because it gives reliable, it's very good resale value, it always works. But the fact of the matter is, the way I perceive to buy the product, if today you show me an ad, it says like, one day you will own a Toyota Corolla, I'll almost smile at the ad, right? But the fact of the matter is, it's not an aspirational car for me today. So the fact of the matter is that if there's an audience who is an affluent audience above the age of 40, if you're targeting them, then even your product, the way you position your product has to change. If you don't change it, then people are going to smile on it and probably not buy it, right? So the fact of the matter is that this is what AI is going to enable us to do, that we'll be able to take each audiences and then customize our creative, our media plan, our influencer selection, our content creation meant for the group and the cohort we are targeting. It may not be individual one-to-one as yet because ad tech will not allow it, but you can always create groups of 10,000 people each, and everything that you do will be customized for those 10,000 people. Right? That's what the goal should be. Okay, next point. So I think one thing that everybody should focus on is figure out a way to collect first party data. Because everything that I've said so far is going to get more and more difficult without first party data. So you have a physical product, FMCG distribution, please put QR codes. If you are already a brand which sells through dealers, figure out a way that the dealer gives you the customer data. You can even figure out a way that the customer data is not given by the dealer to you, but they upload it on Meta and other platforms where the first party data is deleted, but it's still an audience created. So they'll be more comfortable sharing the data with you. But then you can customize your audiences. But Jabalpur guy who buys a certain car or a certain bike is going to be different from Delhi and Bangalore. You can customize it as long as that data exists somewhere. So the first goal I would tell everybody, if they want to believe in digital transformation, they want to focus on AI being used effectively, please start collecting first party data. And a lot of people, when they went through COVID, they realized that without first party data, they had a lot of challenges. Yeah, next slide. So this is what we do right now, and I'll show you some examples of it. But basically, it still starts with one single thing: your customer data. You've been uploading the customer data on the platforms for remarketing. So that's the established business practice you do. That's the same thing you do. But then once you unpack the psychographics, you should have the ability to put the psychographics into multiple AI tools, right? Whether it's for creative generation, whether it's for content generation, whether it's for media planning, and all these things should be done on the fly. But it starts with first party data. If you don't know what your high value customers are, then finding more such people is impossible. You should know that these are the people who are returning products to you. You want to eliminate them. These are people who don't pay back your loan. You want to eliminate them. All this starts with first party data. So more and more first party data you collect, the more and more effective utilization of AI would be there. Yeah, next slide. I think what we'll do is let me show you some of browser things. So Garima, if you can open the browser, and we just quickly that. So this is where the 1.2 million interests of Meta come in, right? So just type in any brand, let's say Gucci as an example. Right, so you get what people are searching for in Gucci, but they also what Gucci is all about. Search for something called La Mer. So La Mer, by the way, for people who don't know what La Mer is basically a cream that costs $200 for like 25 grams. I've faced challenges with that, justifying 25 grams with $200, but that's what it is. But you could now know it's an anti-aging cream. You could know now globally which are the places in the world where people are consuming this brand. So if you're in 38 markets as La Mer, the 39th market can be identified, but this can be done for Bajaj Auto, this can be done for any brand that you want, right? You can take the next browser window. So this is the global map of where anti-aging creams are being consumed. As you can see, India is light green. It's not where the biggest market is, but there are certain markets like Philippines out there comes up as a very big market. And if you scroll down, it gives you the psychographics of people who are consuming anti-aging creams in Philippines and other places. So it tells you the country in ranks. Click on the next browser window. So now what I've done is I've taken this for, I think this is for USA. So it gives you the anti-aging cream consumption in US in the psychographics. Just scroll down. But again, it can give you the age, the cities they come from, what are the other interests they have. You just scroll down more. Yeah, so you can scroll down even more. You can just show quickly and then we'll skip it. So the cities they come from, what are the other interests they have. They're interested in beauty and cosmetics and etc. Click on the next browser window. What brands they like. Now this is the breakup for US versus some other country. You can go to the next browser window. Now what you can do is you can take this data and just go down. It automatically creates a media plan for you. So it takes all the psychographics interest and creates a media plan for you. It also puts the media plan into different themes. So now you can take each theme and you can write a creative for that theme. Because otherwise what happens is in Meta you can't track individual interest, and all these interests come as thousands of interests that you're targeting as a AAA audience or whatever. Then you can't write individual creative for each theme. So here, because these themes are done by AI, you can now sort of write individual creative. Go to the next point. So now all this can come from intent also. So all this was behavior, but what people are searching for in vitamin C, what are the questions they have in their mind, what do they compare it with, what are the product questions people have in their mind, and all this data then can go into again multimodal AI with thousands of words of prompts. So you can click on the next one. So what it does is it takes all this stuff and then is able to write. This mood board was created by AI. So it took the psychographic of male who was trying to use anti-aging creams or vitamin C products, and then it's created this thing. All these images were created on the fly based on the prompts given based on the psychographic you're targeting. Just click on the create content types, the last link out here. So when you take all these prompts and the creative brief, just scroll up a little bit. So what you could do is you can use this to now create individual search ads, social posts, blog outlines, video scripts, every single creative asset that you require. But because this creative asset is created for the cohort that you unpack in psychographics, the creative will be very, very precise. It'll be like the Crocs after sport relaxation, because every single one of this is created for an audience. So just imagine, right? You have 85 million customers. You could take 10,000 customers each, divide them by 85 million, you get like 800,000 plus audiences. You could write individual creative for each one of the 800,000 audiences. Imagine what it will do to your creative assets and what you can do in digital marketing. And all this happens completely on the fly, right? So we have multiple modules, maybe the last slide, I can just show the next one. So what it does is this one, it tracks trends happening on YouTube, Google and TikTok, wherever TikTok works. You can click on this and say how you can link to that trend. So if right now, I think Grand Theft Auto, the new version was launched and got 18 million views, and you are a gaming guy, you can create a creative link to that, but you could actually be a beauty person who wants to sell vitamin C, and that person you've identified has affinity for gaming, and they like Grand Theft Auto and some of the other games. Their creative plan, a media plan will be built based on that cohort. You will have creative, how you link vitamin C to that, and it may actually say that although in Grand Theft Auto you may be sitting at home, but eventually you'll be going out. That's the time when vitamin C will be very, very useful to you, and other things, right? So now this is how it is going to evolve. So this is just some of the slides that I've shown about the product we make, but just imagine there are probably hundreds of products such as this. So 5-6 takeaways. First thing is, please start collecting first party data. But none of this is possible if you don't have customer data. Second thing is, please FAFO. Everything new tool comes up, please FAFO around with it. The more and more you try to play around with things, the more and more things you'll discover, and some of these insights can be transformational. Third thing is, please start using these tools that your L3 start using it today, right? Because a lot of times I've seen that people don't have time, and the funny part is something that can save hundreds of hours, they don't want to do because they don't have time. That's the most stupidest argument I've heard. Please make sure that every single L3 in your company starts using it, and you as L1, please start using it too. Because the more you faffle around with it, the more and more you will have fun and learning. So anyway, any questions anybody has, feel free to ask. But I'm going to be here a little bit after this session also. But I thought I'll give you an overview of how AI is going to impact advertising and marketing. And it's not the future, it is the present. That's the reason I will show you things that are being done today. And we are a small SaaS company out of India who mainly works with North American clients. But just imagine, this is just one small company out of India, what you saw today. But imagine there are thousands of such companies solving every single part of advertising and marketing. And how many of them are we using in our organizations today?
That was indeed amazing, right? Talk about hyper personalization and all of those concepts that he spoke about and all the use cases that he showed us. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhargava. And may I request Mr. Vipul Oberoi, Director of Marketing, CSR and Learning Solutions at Dun & Bradstreet India, to hand over a token of appreciation. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Bhargava.